years old. He had a pair of chocolate-coloured horns edged with a forest of lethal spikes, and he stood in his elegant white-spotted coat some 3.5 feet high. "But that's surely not a baby," said my mother, aghast. "Oh, yes, madam," said the boy's father hastily. "Only a youngster, lovely animal, tame as a dog." Hortense rattled his horn up against the gate like a crackle of musketry, and then leant forward and delicately plucked one of Mother's prize chrysanthemums. Chewing it in a meditative sort of way, he surveyed us with limpid eyes. Hastily, before Mother could recover from the shock of meeting Hortense, I thanked the boy and his father profusely, grabbed the dog lead that was attached to Hortense's collar, and led him towards the garage. Not for anything would I confess to Mother that I, too, had imagined Hortense to be a tiny, heart-melting fawn. I had expended a large sum of money on a feeding bottle, for what now turned out to be, if not Landseer's stag at bay, at least a close approximation of it. Followed by Mother, Hortense and I entered the garage where, before I could tie him up, he had evinced a deadly loathing for the wheelbarrow which he attempted unsuccessfully to toss in the air. He eventually had to content himself with merely overturning it and disemboweling it on the ground. I tied him to the wall and hastily removed any gardening equipment that I thought was liable to incur his wrath. "I do hope he's not going to be too fierce, dear," said my mother worriedly. "You know how Larry feels about fierce things." I knew only too well how my elder brother felt about anything, fierce or otherwise, in the animal line, and I was only too delighted that he, together with my other brother and sister, happened to be out when Hortense arrived. "Oh, he'll be all right when he settles down," I said. "He's just high-spirited." At that moment, Hortense decided that he did not like being left alone in the garage, and so he charged the door. The whole garage rocked to its foundation. "Perhaps he's hungry," said Mother, backing down the path. "Yes, I expect that's it," I said. "Could you get him some carrots and some biscuits?" Mother trotted off to procure the necessary dear, soothing foodstuffs, while I went to grapple with Hortense. He was delighted to see me again, as the sideways sweep of his horns catching me in the pit of the stomach showed. However, I found that, like most deer, he was greatly addicted to being scratched round the base of his horns, and I soon had him in a semi-comatose condition. Then, when a large packet of water biscuits and a couple of pounds of carrots arrived, he settled down to assuage the hunger which his journey had given him. While he was thus engaged, I phoned up and ordered straw, hay, and oats to be delivered. Then, when Hortense had finished his meal, I took him for a walk on the nearby golf links, where he behaved in the most exemplary fashion. When I got him back home, he seemed more than happy to be bedded down in a corner of the garage on a pile of straw with some hay and crushed oats for his supper. I carefully padlocked the garage door and left him. I really felt, as I went to bed, that Hortense was settling down, and would make not only a remarkably attractive pet, but would give me the experience with larger animals that I so urgently desired. The following morning, I was woken at about 5 o'clock by a curious noise which sounded as though somebody were dropping highly explosive bombs at regular intervals in the back garden. Deciding that this was impossible, I wondered what on earth it could be. I could tell by the slamming of doors and muttered curses that the rest of the family were wondering what it could be too. I leant out of the window and surveyed the back garden. There, in the dawn light, I could see the garage rocking to and fro, like a ship on a rough sea, while Hortense demanded his breakfast by the simple expedient of charging the garage door. Hastily I rushed downstairs, and with an armful of hay and some crushed oats and carrots, pacified him. "What?" inquired my elder brother at breakfast, fixing me with an unfriendly eye. "Have you got locked in the garage?" Before I could deny all knowledge of anything in the garage, my mother rushed nervously to my defense. "It's only a tiny little deer, she said. "Have some more tea." "It didn't sound tiny," said Larry. "It sounded more like Mr. Rochester's wife." "It's so tame," my mother went on, "and it loves Jerry." "Well, it's a good thing somebody does," said Larry. "All I say is keep the damned thing away from me. Life is difficult enough without having herds of caribou in the garden." I was not popular that week. My marmoset had tried to climb into bed with Larry in the early morning, and on being repulsed had bitten him in the ear. My magpies had uprooted a whole row of tomatoes carefully planted by my other brother.